And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio, an action-packed program this hour of the show. We've got Lars Larson who will join us, our great friend. We'll talk to Lars as we do every Monday at this time. Get a thoughts on what we should be looking for. Certainly his thoughts on what the Oregon governor said, where she said that she will not send National Guard troops to the border to support President Trump's agenda. And we'll be joined by Congressman Labrador as the race to be Idaho's next governor heats up. We will have Congressman Labrador in the studio with us, and we will talk with him. We look forward to catching up with him as well. KIDO Talk Radio, of course, home of Win Kevin Miller's Money. Code word 2 is sun. That's right, S-U-N, like the sun in the sky. So make sure you keep listening for your chance to win up to $5,000. Listen at 6:05 and 8:05 during the Kevin Miller Show, Kevin Miller Mornings, and at 3:05 for the Sean Hannity Afternoon Experience at KIDO Talk Radio for the next code word. And remember, the more code words you get, the more chances you have to win. In addition to that, coming up this week, we're going to be in Meridian promoting our schools, securing our future. We're at the Meridian Technical Charter School, or Meridian Medical Charter School. And we look forward to that, a new school this year. And I want to thank our friends CapEd and Team Mazda Subaru and our newest sponsor, Grade Power Learning in Meridian. I'm about ready to take my first grammar class from these folks. Really looking forward to that. And here's something that can really empower your kids, empower their education. You can enter to win a 50-word customized learning package. All you have to do is write a 100-word essay on why education is important to you, and you could win this package, applicable for anything you or your child needs, from studying skills, test assignment support, to time management, to ACT or SAT prep. By the way, that's a huge deal. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Well, apparently it is Monday, and no Lars Larson. All right. We'll continue on. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. There's trouble on the border when we're talking about whether or not troops should go. You have progressives like folks in Oregon and Washington say that's not going to happen, and then you have other folks saying that, well, they would proudly send troops to the border. Really, this is not a big deal. Remember, we're talking about National Guard troops, right? We're talking about National Guard troops, which President Bush and President Obama and others have sent to the border again and again. Why can't President Trump? In other words, I'm wondering, why can't the military be used? Why can't we have training exercises on the border, right, Eben Brown?
It's not the first time Texas has placed its National Guard troops along the border, and Governor Greg Abbott says each time it's done, it's been effective in tamping down illegal activity.
Every time that we've increased the forces on the ground, there's been a decrease of the cartel activity, of the coyote activity, because they realize they're going to be losing money.
Customs and Border Protection says there's been more than a 200% spike in apprehensions of illegal border crossers compared to this time last year. Some argue that means federal agents don't need military assistance. In McAllen, Texas, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Yeah, that's the scary thing about this. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, this has been done. In fact, President Bush sent more National Guard troops than anybody else. And yet you have people going after President Trump, right? It seems crazy. This should be allowed to happen. And by the way, I don't really have a problem with the military being there. Well, we can't use the military to do this, right? Well, yes, we can. We can conduct training exercises back and forth. Send out the drones. Is there anything wrong with using the drones? Liberty Linda, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
I really like your word, craziness. There's craziness everywhere in our world. And I think that you're correct also. The only way that we know a true path for anything is through prayer. There's where we get our real inspiration. And anyway, I believe that we should have our National Guard at our border. The most important thing that we have in this country is to protect our land, our country. instead of going out to all these other countries, you know, we need to concentrate on our own country. And that's just what I believe.
Well, what's wrong with putting America first?
Exactly. Your word craziness and putting America first. That's what we need to do. And I can give a list of how everyone should vote in the state of Idaho if they want to. I think for governor, Dr. Alquist, Lieutenant Governor Steve Yates, and for the first congressional district, Russ Holster. How about that?
Oh, the big three.
Those are big winners, yeah. And I think that all three of them would be great for the state of Idaho. So that's where my vote's going to be cast.
All right. Well, we appreciate that, Liberty Linda. Anything else?
Well, yeah, of course. My first vote would be cast for the Kevin Miller Show.
Well, vote early and often for that endeavor. We appreciate it.
You're always number one in our book.
Well, God bless Liberty Linda. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin, for all you do.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Still working on Lars Larson. We'll give him a few more minutes, Ray, and then we'll just reschedule, and that's just how it goes. But that means more time together. So the president looks like he might actually be in favor of getting rid of catch and release. Let's hear the latest.
So what the president is saying is that the abuse of the asylum laws and these loopholes that are in current immigration law, if you come as a family or you come with as a child unaccompanied, are being exploited. And so if we end catch and release, we will reduce those numbers, making the border safer and allowing Border Patrol agents to concentrate on the other threats that are out there.
Yes. You know, that's the challenge. And when we talk about ending catch and release, I think that's a good thing. I don't think it is a good thing. Now, with all due respect, and let me apologize for being offensive in advance, catch and release is when you fish, right? Those of you that are real men or real women or real sports people, you get that. When you fish, you catch and you release. When you catch the illegals, you catch and deport. And I've lived in Oregon, like vacation there, but I can't understand this governor of the state of Oregon. And by the way, maybe it's time that we expand the state of Idaho. Maybe we annex Eastern Oregon. If you're in Eastern Oregon, if you would like to, secede and come to the great state of Idaho, you don't have to move. We should just annex your territory. I'd put our National Guard up against theirs. Jokingly, of course. Wouldn't you? I mean, it's got to be a tough rub. It's tough enough as a conservative in Idaho when you have a Republican supermajority that doesn't do what you want, according to some, to live in that type of environment. But can you imagine living in Oregon where you have the National Guard surrounded by her liberal entourage, the National Guard surrounded, the governor surrounded by her folks, telling the National Guard, sorry, you're not going to secure the border. We don't need folks to do that. Are you kidding me? So, like I said, the president gets into trouble with this, but why not put the military on the border? Where would you rather have our military? Keeping our borders safe or in Europe or the Middle East? Well, you've got the Russians. Yeah, I know you. Oh, you got the Syrians. I get that, but sooner or later, don't you have to make America safe again? Right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. No, and let's move on to the governor's race, which, if I had my way, I would talk about politics all the time. You know, they used to call me Little Chris Matthews back in the day. Why? Because I was a cherub and kind of looked like Chris Matthews, and I love talking politics, and you love talking politics. You know, people are yapping about the negative ads and whether or not they're effective. We're going to find out May 15th whether or not they're effective, right? We're going to find out whether or not people that vote in the Republican primary. And see, this is an issue that hasn't been addressed when it comes to, and this show has kind of evolved since its inception. You know, we would do the interviews with the newsmakers and vice versa, that sort of thing. But and we see folks, and imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Looking at what we've done, we've had people from Charlotte, North Carolina, from places just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm trying to think, from Alabama, say, hey, Kevin, we love what you've done in Idaho. We would love for you to bring that show here. We're now on another station. We're on two stations now, right? On 107.5 and 580. And we say, no, we're going to stick to the formula. You have people looking at this. And when it comes to Treasure Valley Republican primary voters, I think that we have a unique grasp on it. We're proudly conservative. We're proudly Republican. We're proudly social conservatives. Those are the people that vote. Those are the people that make a difference. And you're going to have people, when they see something or hear something negative, they're going to look at things critically. Very different from the general populace, right? Remember, last time around, the 4-term governor, the Hulk Hogan of Idaho politics, who's been involved in Idaho politics since 1972, Governor Otter, lost this listening area to Russ Fulcher, right? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That's how important this constituency is. So my question to you, and, look, I can give you my opinion. I don't think the negative ads work with this audience. I just don't. I don't think they work. I don't think that it's going to go anywhere. I think each candidate is going to have to earn it. And we've seen that. We'll hear that as we move along. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. My man, security guard Mike, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin Miller. How's it going? I just wanted to give a call on, you were talking about the governors and governor race and all that. And I was just, I've only met two of the guys, Brad Little and Tommy Ahlquist. And, cause I work a lot of security things. And, so I just wanted to give you my perception of their character. So like when I met Tommy Ahlquist, he seemed like a warm, genuine guy. And every time I'm at an event and he's there, he always comes over and talks to everybody. I've never seen him not talk to anybody. But when I see Brad Little, I get that aloofness, like you're going to be serving him when he's the governor. But when I see Tommy Ahlquist, I think he's going to be serving you. So I'd rather have someone that's serving us than us serving them. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. So what do you think of the negative ads? Do they work or are they truth-telling? Your thoughts?
Negative ads work so much. It's more like is the position of the person and how are they going to get it accomplished with the solutions? Like when Trump was running, he had solutions. That's what I got. He didn't try to run too much negative stuff on the opposition. Now some of the
wait a minute. No, I mean wait a minute. Lying Ted and Crooked Hillary.
Oh yes. Well, that's not really negative. That just calls him as he sees them. That's personality. He's calling out personality traits. You know.
That's a very astute point, security guard Mike. So I appreciate you calling in. I'm blessed to have you listen, brother.
All right, I love listening to you. You're the best guy ever in the whole valley, the whole state of Idaho, and probably the country. But I wouldn't. If you were running, you got my vote as governor of Idaho, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, but anyway, thank you. It would be you and my mom, so I appreciate that.
And you guys are the greatest, and I love you guys, and I love Idaho. The people of Idaho are great, and let's pick the best one for us that's going to serve us.
Yep.
That's what I think we should do. So make up your minds and do it quickly, and look for the one who are going to serve us, not the ones who we're going to be serving.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
You take care and have a wonderful day.
God bless.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Joining us now, the conservative Congressman Raul Labrador, who is running for governor. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you this morning.
Your thoughts on the state of the race, and if you'd like, the state of morning traffic, sir.
Well, morning traffic is slow, and I was a few minutes late, so I apologize to you and to your audience, but it's great to be with you this morning.
Can you fix that if elected? I mean, that's a big issue for folks.
It is a huge issue for the state of Idaho, and especially here in Ada County, so we definitely have to do something about that. But, state of race is great. We feel good about how things are going. We feel good about the people of Idaho, and we know that the people of Idaho, in the end, make the right decision, and they don't fall for lies and innuendo in the media. I have a conservative record. No one can stand up next to me with my conservative record. I have had 8 years in Congress, 4 years in the legislature. There's been nobody more conservative than I have been in those endeavors. And if you look at my record, you know that no one can match me. This is a really interesting race. We have 3 people that are running that are probably the most known in this race. And the people of Idaho, especially your listeners, I think they need to decide who is the conservative and who is the person who has the integrity to be the governor of Idaho. We have a state that has been run by crony capitalism for the last 12 years. And I think it's bad for the state of Idaho. We need a conservative governor who has integrity. And when you look at my record and you look at the record of the other 2 gentlemen, you will see that one is not a conservative and one has very little integrity when it comes to the way that they're running the campaign. So it's going to be a choice for the people of Idaho, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be an easy choice for your listeners.
More with Congressman Labrador, first traffic and weather. I just can't get Larry Gebbert out of my mind. Jim Duthie does a great job. He'll be back tomorrow. One of my many shortcomings. Congressman Labrador joining us, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Since Governor Otter has endorsed Lieutenant Governor Brad Little, and as we've predicted, he is now appearing in ads endorsing the Lieutenant Governor, your thoughts on, if elected governor, sir, how your administration would differ from Governor Otter's?
Well, the main thing that where it's going to differ is that you're not going to have 4 or 5 lobbyists in downtown Boise deciding the future of the state of Idaho. You're not going to have the same people that have been running the state for the last 20, 25 years running the state of Idaho. That's why they're running scared. That's why they're attacking. That's why they're doing the things that they're doing. The reality is that they know, they have seen what I have done. I stood up to the establishment. I stood up to special interest groups. I stood up to lobbyists. I'm the only person who has done this. The other 2 candidates have actually been in bed with lobbyists. They have been doing the things, and I don't mean that literally. Please understand that.
Not taken that way, sir.
They have been for their entire lives. You have Brad Little, who is in the pocket of special interest groups, and you have Tommy Alquist, who has been handing the money to special interest groups here in Boise. He was with Dave Beater. He was with the Democrats. He voted. He gave money to Democrats. He voted against Donald Trump. So if you want somebody who's a true conservative, who has been fighting for the conservative values of Idaho, there's only one candidate. So I think that's where it's going to change. It's going to be about the people. Putting the people first. It's not going to be about putting special interests first.
You know, let's talk about your conservative credentials. You've gotten a lot of publicity, a lot of attention, some of it positive, some of it negative, from your work with Senator Lee on marriage. You know, that's a big issue here in Idaho. Your thoughts on protecting marriage and the role of marriage today?
You know, I believe in traditional marriage. I have fought and voted for traditional marriage. And I believe most important than anything is that people who have traditional views about marriage should not be discriminated by the government. What you see in California and you see in other states is that they want to tamp down the traditional views of marriage, and they want to put people that have those traditional views in a corner. And for example, they have tried to take away the tax-exempt status of the Boy Scouts, of churches, and other institutions that believe in traditional marriage. Mike Lee and I worked on this issue. We drafted legislation that would have reinforced the belief that the government should never get in the way of somebody's religious or traditional marriage beliefs. And again, I'm the only person in this race who has fought for those issues. The other 2 have been standing idly by, just waiting for other people to fight the fight.
Congressman, everybody in this race in the Republican side says they're pro-life. You've been with David Ripley. You've been to the folks, the National Right to Life. You've been with Idaho Chooses Life. How do you distinguish your pro-life credentials from your other 2 opponents, sir?
It's pretty simple. It's easy to stand up. See, that's what's interesting about politics. It's easy to stand up and say you're pro-life, that you believe in life. But where have you been for the last 10 years, 12 years, 15 years? Who has been standing by the side of the pro-life leaders in Idaho? It's only one person in this race, and it's me. I have been with the pro-life community. I have spoken at their banquets. I have drafted legislation. I have sponsored legislation. I've worked on things that are important to the people of Idaho. So once again, look at the record. people are going to, it's just funny to watch the commercials, where one candidate is saying he's pro-life and he's this, and the other candidate is saying that they're pro-life. And the question that I ask is, where have you been the last 15 years? I know that I haven't seen them at the events that I have been at, and I can tell you that the pro-life community has not seen them either.
Coming up next, more with Congressman Labrador. We're going to talk about education, jobs, his vision, and the prison system. A lot to do for the next governor. What's at stake coming up after May 15th and after the general election in November? If you have a question, 580-5436. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Kevin Miller Mornings. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Before we get to your phone calls for Congressman Labrador, Congressman, what's at stake at this election? What happens on May 15th if Congressman Labrador is not the Republican nominee? What happens to the state? What happens to the party?
Well, it's the future of Idaho is at stake, and it's not just because of Congressman Labrador. It's you're going to have a new governor, and the new governor will determine the way, not just the next 4 years for the state, but the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the next 40 years. Because you're either going to have somebody with conservative vision for the state, somebody who has fought for conservative principles, and who will be able to implement those conservative principles as the governor of the state. The legislators that are conservative have been fighting the conservative cause are excited. They're excited to have a leader in the governor's office that they can work with, that they can actually implement some of the things that they want to do. But the most important thing, and the thing that will not change if I'm not in that office, is the cronyism. Look at the things that have happened over the last few years where you have special interest groups receiving money directly from the governor's office, where you have special interest groups that are making decisions in the state. They know that I will end that. They know that I will stop picking winners and losers. If you're sick and tired of government picking winners and losers, and you want the best decisions to be made because they're in the best interests of the people of Idaho, I think there's only one candidate in this race, and that would be me.
Let's go to the phones. Steve in Meridian with Congressman Labrador at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, Kevin. Congressman Labrador, looking forward to the May 15th election. I'm likely going to vote for you. You seem like a great candidate. My question, sir, is really about something that's more behind the scenes. I'm not a native of Idaho, so I came to the state, and being a Christian guy, I'm still a little leery, if you will, about various people who believe differently than me. So knowing you're a Mormon, sir, how can you comfort residents who don't believe like you, knowing there's going to be fair leadership to a majority of the state that doesn't believe like yourself? I guess, that's just my question to you.
That's a great question. I have worked very closely with people of all faiths. In fact, when I created the Freedom Caucus in Washington, D.C., that's a group of people. Most of us are conservative, but something we all have in common is that we also believe in Christian principles. And we have, people from all denominations in the Freedom Caucus. When I was in the Idaho legislature, my best friends are all from different denominations, but we all had things in common. And what that was in common is that we believed in God, we believed in conservatism, and we believed in the state. So if you see my career, I don't associate only with people that are LDS. I have my campaign manager sitting right next to me, and she's not LDS. Most of the people that surround me are of different faiths. So I have great respect for people of different faiths. I've always surrounded myself with people of different faiths. What I'm looking for is people that do the right thing, believe in the right principles, and that actually follow through on the commitments that they make. And if it doesn't matter what faith you're from, if you're one of those people, I'm willing to work with you.
Well, I'm glad, sir. You seem like a good man with inspired vision, and even though we believe distinctly on a few doctrines, you seem like you're a born-again man, and I think you might be the right guy for the job. I hope you win it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Now, a special guest, your number one supporter, Cindy and Caldwell, joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio for Congressman Labrador.
Yes, Kevin, good morning. Really, it's an honor to talk to you both, and I don't take that lightly. And just to confirm what Representative Labrador, it has been a total honor to be able to serve him in my own little way. And, you know, I am a born-again Christian, and there are many of us over there who, as Raul just said, he was 100% accurate. The vision that he saw, you know, and I will be ever, ever grateful for this nation in coming alongside a Donald Trump who was absolutely so demonized with people pointing the moral finger, that Raul in protecting my daughter. You know, Representative Labrador, my first husband died at 33, and your bill, he was a veteran, and I was so impressed that Shauna Hill Act, when you got involved in that bill that you saw that was signed into law about education benefits going to the beneficiaries, you know, of veterans. And as a single mom at that time, there were so many ideas of conservatism. And even though we do have a different belief, I believe that God raised up a Donald Trump. God has raised up you to lead this nation back to the republic that it once was. Never heard you complain about being a single, you know, coming from a single parent family like I was, you know, trying to raise my daughter. So it just has been, I would say probably the legacy that I leave my grandchildren at 72 is because of you, sir, that there are conservative people out there that put, you know, all these issues forth. So thank you, and thank you for that bill.
Thank you, Cindy in Caldwell. Your thoughts? Every day Cindy calls in, and she's, if not here, she's working the phones for you, sir.
I love Cindy, and she's fantastic. And she's raised several issues, and I'm going to try to address each one of them really quickly. First, Donald Trump. If you believe that Donald Trump is doing a good job for the United States, and I hope all of your listeners do believe that, there is only one candidate in this race that they need to thank for that. My opponent either sat on the sideline or actually campaigned against Donald Trump. Tommy Alquist actually told the American people that we should not vote for Donald Trump during the campaign. Brad Little just sat on the sideline and did nothing. I actually went to 3 different states. I went to Arizona, and I was there with Don Jr., and I was the only member of Congress in Arizona who would stand up next to Don Jr. because the other members did not want to be seen in a Donald Trump rally. I went to Utah, and I was the only member of Congress who would be willing to stand up next to Mike Pence because many of the members of Congress in Utah were not willing to be seen at a Donald Trump rally. And I went to Florida with 4 different cities with Donald Trump. In 2 of the 4 cities, I was the only member of Congress who would stand up with Donald Trump on the stage. So if you are happy about what Donald Trump is doing and you're happy with the way that America is being led, then there's only one candidate. If Tommy Alquist would have had his way, Hillary Clinton would be president of the United States. And that's the important thing that people need to understand. And Brad Little did nothing. I think he voted for Trump, but he did nothing to go out there and campaign for him. On the other issues, the Shauna Hill bill, that's one of the things I'm most proud of. The Shauna Hill family came to my office and said that her daughter had passed away, and they wanted to transfer the benefits, the GI benefits from Shauna Hill to their other daughter. The law did not allow that. And I decided to work with her to draft legislation. It took us 5 years to draft legislation and pass legislation that was allowing young kids to have that GI benefit transferred to them. And Tommy Alquist's dad, his PAC, is going around saying that I have never passed legislation. I have passed 3 pieces of legislation that I have sponsored. I have passed over 20 pieces of legislation that I have co-sponsored. And this is what I'm talking about integrity. When people are not willing to tell the truth about small things, Kevin, you know that they're not willing to tell the truth about big things. So imagine if you're willing to do anything to get elected, the governor of the state, what are you going to do when you have the title, when you have the power? I have always been honest and truthful with the people of Idaho, and in fact, sometimes to my detriment, because I will tell people, you know this about me,
sir,
Kevin.
I do.
I will tell people when I disagree with them. These other 2 candidates will tell you what you want to hear. I will tell you the truth. I will treat you with respect because I think that's what you deserve.
And we go to the publisher of the Gem State Patriot. By the way, more phone calls if you'd like to talk to Congressman Labrador at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The Gem State Patriots. Tea Party Bob, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Congressman Labrador. Idaho has a broken prison system, one of the highest rates of incarceration of all the states around us. And since firing a Correction Corp of America from running our prisons, we still have not fixed the prison system and are shipping our prisoners out of state to prisons where the lives are in jeopardy. Will you fix this problem by having the state take responsibility for those we incarcerate and build the necessary facilities to house these inmates with programs that help to reform them and reduce recidivism and keep the prisoners safe from jailhouse violence?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest and most important issues that a governor has to do. I believe in prison reform. I think we need to look at our entire prison system. We need to look at the programs. I was just speaking actually to the wife of an inmate, somebody who he had reformed his life. He was in prison 6 different times. Then he converted to actually the LDS faith. And he's now a good father, a good husband. And what she was telling me is that the prisons, every time he was in prison, the programs did not work for him. He was lucky that he found God in his life, but we need to reform the way we're doing. We also need to look at the sentencing in the state of Idaho. I am for sentencing reform, for prison reform. We need to make sure that we are not spending more money on prisons that we're spending on education. We need to make sure that we are teaching young people, especially those young kids that have no fathers at home, like I didn't have a father at home, that they are valuable, that they are people that we can believe in, that they're people that we can stand with, and that they are people that can contribute to society. We need to spend more time having young men being surrounded by other men who are good, moral, upstanding people who can be a good role models for them. Every young man needs a good role model. I know that I needed it in my life, and I know that as governor, that's going to be one of my main things. You know, government can't solve every problem, but I will encourage individuals in Idaho to stand up with those kids that need good male role models so we can actually have a better generation for the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tea Party Bob. Coming up next, we'll talk education, jobs, and Congressman Labrador's vision. Also, your phone calls, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And Congressman Labrador joining us once again. On a personal note, we hear you're almost going to be a grandfather. What does that mean to you, sir?
I am so excited. My daughter-in-law actually was supposed to have the baby on Saturday, and the baby's a little bit late, but we're thinking it's going to happen today. And it makes you understand what this race is really about, but it also makes you understand what life is really about. You know, whatever happens in this race, I'm still going to be a husband, a father, and soon to be a grandfather, and I couldn't be more proud. Those are the titles that I cherish and I revere. I'm not looking for a title in this race. I'm just looking to serve the people of Idaho.
Let's get back to a few issues. You wanted to set the record straight. People have been calling your office and repeating what they've heard on the radio or television. Anything that you'd like to clarify, sir?
Well, first of all, it's what I said earlier. We've passed plenty of pieces of legislation, but sometimes people need to understand that my biggest job I have always seen as stopping bad legislation. What I can tell you is that if either Brad Little,
both here in the state
and in Congress, and I have been known for stopping bad legislation, that I actually think is the most important job of a legislator. If you had sent either Brad Little, Tommy Ahlquist to Congress, they wouldn't have done any of the things that I have done when it comes to stopping bad legislation. Also, I find it ironic that they keep attacking me on immigration. There's nobody who has been stronger on immigration. I am the chairman of the Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on Immigration. I have sponsored the most conservative pieces of legislation in Congress. In fact, in Washington, D.C., they call me extreme on immigration. And I come home and you have a multimillionaire going around lying to people about my record on immigration. I have stood with President Trump. I've been to the White House 2 or 3 times to discuss immigration. And in fact, President Trump has supported my bill. The bill that I drafted with the chairman of Judiciary Committee, which is the Good Labrador bill, is one of the few bills that President Trump says that needs to become law. So for anybody to challenge me on immigration, they don't know what they're talking about. And the question is, where have Tommy Ahlquist and Brad Little been on immigration? They haven't done any of the things that I have done, but they're sure spending millions and millions and millions of dollars attacking me on it. And what you need to know is that when somebody's willing to spend that much money, on attacking another individual is because they cannot stand on their own record. They have no record to stand on, and on whether it's immigration, whether it's spending, whether it's any issue that is important to the people of Idaho. I'm the only candidate who has a strong conservative record.
Our great friend, Congressman Labrador, joining us. Traffic and weather. Congressman Labrador joining us right now. Back to the prisons, Congressman. Could we ever see, if elected, any type of investigation? We've had investigations, but if you said many people believe the cronies have covered up the system of incarceration. We have allegations that folks from Idaho are going to Texas where they're being beaten. The story that the Press Tribune broke where you had a man who was in jail for, I believe, drinking while under the influence, allegedly killed by a murderer. There appears to be some big problems there. Doesn't get as much attention as others, but certainly a cause for concern.
It is a cause for concern. And you need to understand, so the people who work in the prison system are good people that are trying to do their job. But we have a prison system that I don't think has been led very well until the last, that needs to, we need to look at the reforms. We're asking them to do things that they shouldn't be doing. We did have Kevin Kempf, who was an amazing leader, and he changed the culture of the prison system. He did a good job, but I don't think we have gone far enough. In fact, I was sad to see Kevin leave as the director of our prison system because I thought he was making some really good institutional changes. But the problem that we have is that the Otter administration decided to bring in a private prison and started to bring something that was a for-profit business into a prison system. And there are some things, I believe in limited government, but there are some things that I believe that only government should do. And I don't think we should have private prisons. I think that government should be dealing with the prison system, and we should be doing it well. We should be providing the right types of training. And you know, I believe prison sentences should be harsh, and they should be short. I want everyone to look at the prison system as a place that they never want to go back to again.
Congressman, could we see, though, some type of investigation, though, if elected? I'm sorry to ask the follow-up, but it just seems that you have a lot of people that have said that, you know, they've been abused in the prisons and stuff, and that is part of government oversight.
Absolutely.
Right?
There will be government oversight in my administration. We will look at every claim. We will look at everything that is done because we shouldn't cover it up. And we need to make sure that we have a prison system that Idahoans can be proud of, and we need to have a government that Idahoans can be proud of.
All right, quickly to Katie for Congressman Labrador at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Katie.
Oh, hi, good morning. Yes, I really appreciate you looking at that topic because I know it's one a lot of people don't want to really look at. I was going to ask you, having had a child that was involved in that private prison system and probation parole, are you looking at anything as far as overseeing probation and parole? Or maybe, you know, I don't have all the answers, but something even as a citizen I could get involved with doing?
Yeah, so what
maybe make some changes there.
Yeah, we're going to look at the entire system. I was a criminal defense lawyer before I was a member of Congress, and I have some opinions about the way the prison system works. You know, I was interestingly a conservative criminal defense lawyer. There's not a lot of those in the world.
Right.
But I do believe that our system of punishment should be more effective and more direct, and people should. You know, if you look at what when Joe Arpaio received a lot of bad press because of the work that he did in Arizona, but the reality is that everything he was doing, he was trying to make the jail system so what's the word? He wanted it to be so harsh in a way that people did not want to go back to that jail again. And he wanted the psychology of what he was doing is making sure that people were not just comfortable in the jail system, but at the same time he had programs for young women and others. So there's something we have to do.
All right, Katie, thank you. Congressman, if people want to get a hold of you, your website?
RaulLabrador.com, and we have a lot of information on that website.
Sir, hope to see you again. Good luck.
Thank you.
Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. God bless. Keep the faith.